Welcome to Boss Radio Live, everyone. Welcome to Boss Radio Live. I am your host, NJ. I am super excited about today's show. It is about a very important topic that I love to have on the show because I just think it is so very important. And so we will get started right away. My guest today is Miss Joyce I was going to say Williams Mason, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about her in a moment. But everybody, stay tuned. Share the episode, share the show, because this is definitely it's going to be a good one. It's Boss Radio Live with NJ, your three-dimensional podcast. Baltimore, Maryland. I love my city. Wow. You have to have balance.
Mother's Day extravaganza event being held. ILC Lois Butler Culver.
Come meet me today at the Spirit Center. I want to hear what you have to say. Again, welcome to the show where he is the boss of me. So, you guys, if you have been watching the show for a while, you know I do like to have on the topic of mental health. And so, my guest, Miss Joyce Mason, is definitely an expert in her own right and has quite the journey to share with us today. And so I'm really just excited to have her on. But for those of you who may not have heard of Joyce, let me tell you a little bit about her. Joyce Mason is a wife, mother, sister, and friend like so many of us. But each day, Joyce battles to conquer mental health issues. Joyce, who has suffered with depression, anxiety, and panic attacks for many years, will share how she not only lives with depression, but has learned how to control it and live a full life. She is not satisfied with just overcoming mental health issues. She has decided to help others deal with depression as well. Joyce does this through her book, Depression to Deliverance, and coaching and advocacy as a certified mental health coach and certified mental health first aider. Joyce also has been featured on the OWN network for topics around mental health and trauma, and holds a monthly virtual meeting called At the Table, where she discusses topics to educate others on the importance of mental well-being. Joyce truly is on the front lines in the battle for better mental health. So guys, welcome Joyce Mason to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here, Joyce. Honestly, this is a topic, as I said, I love to have on the show because I think it is just so important. And so with that, being said, I want to jump right into it and just talk about your personal story. So can you tell us a little bit about that, because this is kind of where everything has stemmed from, basically.
Yes. As a child, I saw mental health challenges in my family, but being a child, I didn't realize what it was that was going on. So I just dismissed it. I was routinely see things happening to family members that was mental health related, but again, I didn't know what it was until it affected me personally. And the way it affected me, I started having anxiety attacks, panic attacks, calling 911, thinking that I was about to die. And after speaking to some family members, they told me about their mental health challenges. And so it was suggested that I go see a doctor, which I did. And they did blood work and they told me that I had a chemical imbalance. So after being diagnosed and with mental health challenges, I was put on medication, which really helped me in the beginning. Um, but as we talk to other people about our mental health challenges, you realize that it's a stigma attached to it. So people thought you didn't need to be on that medication. You trust God, you can get through this. That may be the case for some people, but it wasn't the case for me. I took myself off the medication, listening to what others thought, and it sent me in a spiral downward. The panic attacks and the anxieties got worse and worse to the point where it was starting to affect my daily living. It was affecting me as far as my job, as far as my relationship with my husband, and even with myself. I was so bad, I didn't even want to be around myself. So I went back to the doctors and got back on the medication, and things seemed to go in a different direction from there. But life as it is, things will continue to happen. But you have to realize that you have this situation, and you can still live with it, and you can still thrive, and you can still be all that you can be. And so I'm on that road right now. I'm happy where I am. I'm excited. I'm grateful. I'm thankful. Do I still have situations? Yes, I do, because I'm still living with it. So I know how to tap into my triggers now. I know what to do when I am triggered. And so I am just grateful to be where I am right now.
Wow, Joyce. And I think you said a couple of important things when you were talking just now. And it's unfortunate, but our faith, I just hate when we get into this thing of if you have faith, you won't have these issues. And if you could just talk a little bit more about that and your experience in that part of it, because it's so difficult sometimes when you are a person of faith and you start experiencing these issues. And people do believe that if I have faith, or if I'm a person of faith, that I should not be having these kind of issues, that I can pray it away. And honestly, prayer can be helpful, but can you talk a little bit more about that, and kind of, how your experience with that?
Sure. Being a person of faith, in the beginning, I was new in the faith. I've always been in church, but I was new in the faith. So I listened to people that I thought had my best interest at heart when they talked about, oh, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you can remove this and move that. And so being a babe and not being on solid food, as they say, or having milk, I was led the wrong way by Christians. And I'm not bashing Christians. I am a Christian. But sometimes we have to realize that God created everything. He created medication. He created us. He created doctors. He created nurses. And so, yes, I do have faith. And I had faith then. It wasn't as strong as it is now. So I've realized that talking to other people about everything is not necessarily a good thing. We have to really be careful who we pick and choose to talk to about certain things. Um, as far as I'm concerned, I like to educate people and help them to get to a better place. And sometimes as Christians, we are so heavily minded, we're no earthly good, as they say.
Mm.
And so I realized that these people that I talk to are just people. They're not God. They're not my savior. They didn't save me. And of course, I can speak to them and listen to their advice. But just like you eat fish, you take the meat, you eat the meat, and you leave the bones. That's where I am in my walk now as a Christian. But I am more seasoned than I was back then.
Absolutely. And I think it is important to say that just like our physical health, if we broke a bone or something, we wouldn't say, let's just pray. Pray. Oh, I mean, it's just common sense, but it doesn't seem to be common to everybody. But, even whatever kind of health that you're talking about, whether it's your mental health, your physical
Mhm.
health, all of that, there are people who can help you. And honestly, I feel like it's a combination of the things. It's a combination of, remedies and things that are available to us and your faith, because your
Yes,
faith is what can keep you going, even though you have to deal with, mental health issues. And because it's a struggle, it can be a lot. And so, sometimes people get discouraged in that
yes,
journey. And so faith can help you deal with that part of it as you're going through that. Definitely, I believe.
absolutely.
Yeah. So not only did you use this to get yourself, through everything that you were dealing with, this knowledge that you've gained, but you turned around and decided that you wanted to help other people do that. Not everybody does that. So it speaks to your character.
Thank
And
you.
so, yes, definitely, because now that you've decided to help other people, you're doing it in so many ways, which we kind of talked about in the intro. The book and the monthly show you do, and just you being, an advocate. So, talk a little bit about that journey where you went from just seeking the help for yourself to making that decision to even help others. And I want you to start first with the book, because you start with the book, or did you start with the counseling or advocacy
I
piece first?
started with the book, and it was a writer's boot camp, and the lady's name is Audra Upchurch. It was free. It was during a pandemic. Everybody was shut in. It was something to do just to get my mind off of what was going on. We at that time we had lost several family members and church members to COVID. So we, like I said, we were locked in. So the boot camp was once a day for 30 days, 1 hour of nonstop writing. She would come
Mm,
on, she would introduce herself and she would talk a little bit. She would put some music on and then she would go off camera. So we would have to write for 1 hour. I have never imagined writing a book, but I knew that the things that I had endured was going to be helpful, not just to me, but to other people. And it's several chapters in the book. One is about me not having my dad in my life and
mm,
how that affected my mental health issues. Another chapter was about the loss of our oldest son. I'm sorry, who was murdered. I talked about that in the book and how that affected me. And so I just want to be able to give back. Just for instance, um, once we lost our son, we went to Roberta's house for grief counseling. And now I am a counselor at Roberta's house, and it brings me so much joy and happiness just to be able to walk with these families to help them. Um, I felt all alone because in a Black family, we couldn't talk about mental health stuff. It was,
mm,
you couldn't bring that up. What goes on in this house stays in this house. And so I felt alone, and I don't want anybody else to feel alone. I want people to know that there is somebody out here who is willing to help you through this journey. That you do not have to stay by yourself. You do not have to be discouraged. It is somebody else next door, around the corner, in your church, in your family, who is dealing with mental health challenges. And you can still be the best you that you can be in spite of having mental health challenges.
Wow. And so I really love one, your attitude. I think your attitude is amazing.
Thank you.
Um, and it's much needed in what you're doing. You have that attitude kind of, like you can conquer it. You can conquer this. And the thing is, you don't get just to tell them that but you've done it yourself. And
Absolutely.
I think that's very important and actually very helpful for others while you're talking to them.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's great too that um, the counseling you're doing with Roberta's house, because I really think that mental health and trauma are so linked. A lot of times when people go through a traumatic event, they'll begin experiencing like PTSD,
Mhm.
and just start dealing with some, mental health stuff there. Like trauma is just something else. It's a lot to deal with, and everybody can't deal with it well. They don't
Absolutely.
know how. So I think that's great. So that's amazing. So now with the monthly show that you do, which I think is awesome. So do you have guests come on and kind of talk about
Yeah.
mental health
Um,
issues?
I started doing that um, after I became a mental health coach. And I have a big heart for helping people, period. And so I started seeking the Lord, of course, and asking Him, what did He want me to do with this mental health coach certificate? And I've always been one that want to talk and share. I talk too much sometimes, but that's how He instructed me. So I started the Zoom session, and it was based off of mental health and loving yourself,
Mhm.
encouraging yourself, taking that time for self care, taking a bubble bath, just doing whatever it is that makes you feel good, what makes you happy. A lot of times we don't know what makes us happy because we're so
Mhm.
busy worrying about everybody else that we don't take the time to know who we are. And so I come on, and then I have guests come on because it's not about me. And I always say that it's about all of us. It's about each and every one of us. So yes, I have guests that come on and they share. Um, and it is recorded, but I don't share it outside of the circle of people that's on it because I want them to know it is a safe place for them to come and just let go of everything that they're dealing with or going through. And we have such an amazing time of crying and sharing and encouraging one another. And I just love it. And sometimes we get so caught up in the numbers. I know for me, I do, but that's something I'm dealing with as well. Because we could have 2 or 4 people on there, or we can have 30 on there. But whoever is
Mhm.
on there at that particular time is already God ordained, and they get just what they need. I just had the session Monday, and I had an amazing minister, LaPonda Lewis, on there. I cried so much
Oh
because
wow.
I felt what she was telling us. I felt the spirit. It was just amazing. And I just honor God for using me because sometimes I don't feel worthy, but I know I am because He died for me and He put me in this position where I am now. So for that, I am truly, truly grateful. Do I make mistakes? Absolutely. Am I perfect? No, I'm not, but I'm striving and I'm moving forward and I'm just appreciating the journey that He has me on.
Amazing. And let's not talk about how brave you are, okay? Because this issue, and I was kind of sharing with you before the show started, that I had a previous show where the executive director at NAMI Baltimore was on. And one of the things that she kept reiterating is the fact of how we really need to get rid of the stigma surrounding mental health, because it's sadly it's not just people having to deal with the mental health itself, but then it's people treating them badly. Sometimes they might treat you that way if you experience issues and like at your job or all kinds of stuff. It's just so many issues, or people actually don't seek help because they're trying to, they don't want to be stigmatized. They don't want to, so it's really something that we really have to push for. Um,
Mhm.
and then one of the pictures that I was showing in your intro, there's a ranking that shows that Maryland is like 10 out of 50 states, 51 states that, as far as the ranking for prevalence of mental health. So, with that in mind, what you're doing, being able to share of yourself and your story is very brave and is much needed.
Thank
So,
you
I just
so
want to
much.
say that. Yes, definitely wanted to say that as well. So, that's something that, I guess we're all kind of working towards normalizing mental health treatment.
Amen.
Uh,
And I think it's important too, I'm sorry for cutting you off, that we
go-
educate family members because
yes.
for a long time, my husband didn't know what to do with me. He didn't know what to do for me. He constantly called the ambulance and they constantly came and said, Miss Mason, there is nothing wrong with you. And I'm saying to them, something is wrong with me. I don't feel right. And so we need to educate our family as well because they're going through this as well as we are. And they
Hmm.
expect us to tell them what we're feeling or what we're thinking or what's going on when most of the time we don't understand it ourselves. It is very hard to deal with mental health challenges and not get help for it and not get therapy and all those kind of things. So I just thank God for my husband that he's stuck in there with me. This year will be 35 years married. And so
Wow.
for him to still be in here with me and going through it. Now he knows what to do, of course, because I know what to do. I know how to, when my triggers come up, I know what to do to keep them from getting to that point where I'm having a panic attack. So I just wanted to shout out my husband for being such a great man of God and just letting me lay in his lap when I'm having my moments and just holding me because sometimes that's all we need. We don't need somebody to actually fix it. We just
Hmm.
need somebody to be there and just to show that you care.
Well, definitely shout out to him. And that speaks to his character, right?
Yeah.
Uh, wow. So, yes, that is definitely a blessing and so very true, because I've had people on that have said that they, the family, it was several things I've heard, which is one of the things you hit on earlier, which is basically they tried to pray it out of them, right? So they've had the family kind of react in that way. They've had people, just tell them, just act like you're okay, fake it till you make it, like all these things. And it's so crazy that
Mhm.
we just don't understand that this is something that you definitely need to deal with.
Yeah.
That it, these issues are not going to just boom go away.
Right.
And so
Absolutely.
more than anything, you need the family to actually rally around you in order to be able to really help you, like you were talking about with your husband.
Yes.
So, yes, that's very, very important.
And also
So,
therapy is important.
yes, yes, therapy sometimes, and I mean, I'm just speaking generally, but sometimes it's just learning how to cope with things.
Hmm.
And so therapy might just be enough. sometimes you have to go the medication route,
Right.
but all the time having that level of faith is a blessing as well, just in
Amen.
helping you deal with the whole journey.
Amen.
So I think you need, all of those things
That's
sometimes.
right.
Yeah,
Combination.
yeah.
That's
There you
true.
go. So on this journey, so we heard a bit about, kind of what was going on with you before everything. And then now you've written a book, you do this monthly show, and you are a, counselor, you're an advocate, you're out there coaching. And so now what would you say that you are most grateful for uh, in this whole journey that you've been on?
Ooh, I am most grateful for the growth that has taken place in me. I am grateful for the family and friends that have stood by me. I'm grateful for forgiveness
Mm,
because I need that daily. I'm grateful to be in this place where I am now. I am free. I am delivered. I am healed. I am restored. And I am moving forward. I see myself on a big stage, just trying to help as many people as I can. Sometimes being in this position, you give and you give and you give, and then you're empty. But I have wonderful sister girls that pour into me when I get to my lowest, because it's
amen.
not always flowers every day. So I'm grateful for that. And I just see God doing so many wonderful, marvelous things through me. And I'm honored and I'm grateful. And so I just want to be able to impact as many lives as I can. When it's my time to go, I want them to say she tried her best to help as many people as possible.
Amen. And I think you're well on the way to that, definitely.
Thank you.
One of the things I wanted to say, because you talked about forgiveness, but I think a lot of times we have to forgive ourselves because
Absolutely.
because it's like we're hardest on ourselves. And, even when it's not even surrounding mental health, sometimes we're asking, why is this gotta happen to me? Like when things just don't go your way. So definitely when you're dealing with an issue like that, people begin to wonder, why are they the ones dealing with it? Why do they have to go through that? But I think your story is an example of how you can answer that question, because you can turn around and make the lives of other people better because of what you've gone through. So
Absolutely. And
yeah.
that's one thing that I am so grateful for because when my son was murdered, I asked God, why my son? And he said, was your son any more important than my son who died on a cross for you?
Oh,
And that's what happened to me. It
wow.
was like a ton of bricks just fell in my lap. And I said, Lord, I have to forgive the person that killed him. I have to, because I need to be able to move on. I'm not going to allow him to held me captive and
Mm,
keep me in bondage and keep me from moving forward in Christ. And when I saw him in court, his mother came up to me and embraced me and told me that she was sorry for what her son did to my son. And that was such a relief. And I looked him in his face and I said, I forgive you. I will never, ever forget. I said, but I do forgive you because we have a saying that forgiveness is to set the captive free and realize that the captive is you.
mm,
So I was not going to live my life being captive by this young man who decided to do something that he shouldn't have done. And so,
wow.
yeah, in the past, I could cut people off like that and not forgive, but it just hurt me. It kept me from moving forward. And like I said, I mess up, I make mistakes. So God, I need him to forgive me. So I needed to be able to forgive someone else. And even when I hurt someone and they say I forgive them, they forgive me, it's a relief for me, you know, because I need to be able to sleep at night. I need to be able to move and go forward with whatever God has for me. And so that's where I am. And I'm truly, truly grateful.
Wow. I mean, I felt that right here when you said that. I'm like, wow. And that's the lesson for us. That's a lesson for us, definitely. That the forgiveness is not for other people.
Nope.
I'm gonna just let that one marinate with the audience for a minute because that's a good point. That is a good
Mhm.
point right there. Not that you haven't been dropping gems this entire interview, but I really want you to leave because believe it or not, we're already at the 6:30 mark. So this has been great. But I really want you to leave the audience with um, three things, if you will. I always like to ask the guests for three things that you really would like to leave the audience with before you go.
Ooh, three things. Number one, love yourself. Love
Mm,
yourself. Don't look for anyone to love you. You come first. You are important. So that will be the first thing is to love yourself. The second thing is no matter what you're dealing with, no matter what you're going through, there is always hope. Always hope. The third thing is trust in what you feel going on in your body. If it feels unusual, it don't feel right, trust what you are feeling. And then seek some help. Seek somebody that you can trust with whatever it is you're dealing with. Seek counseling, seek your pastor, whoever it is that you trust, seek some help. And if you are ever in the position where you feel like you're about to hurt yourself or someone else, please pick up the phone. Call 311, 911, whoever you need to call to get some help because it is really getting rough out here. It's getting tough. And with this mental health stuff going on, it just blew up because of the pandemic. It was already out there, but because of the pandemic, it really escalated. And so many people have chosen to take the wrong way out by offing themselves. And that's not the way to go. And so I would really strongly suggest that you seek help, seek someone you can trust, and continue to love on yourself, encourage yourself. Look yourself in the mirror and say, girl or guy, you are beautiful, regardless of what they say you look like or how they think you look. Know who you are. And that is very important. I started off in my relationship with my husband at a young age, and I didn't know who I was. And so around 30, I started to realize, girl, you are more than just a wife and a mother. You have to tap into who you are. And so that's what I would leave everybody with. Know who you are.
yes, and to love yourself.
Absolutely.
To love yourself and take care of yourself.
Yes.
We need to take time, stop, being out here being burnt out, stressed out, just having the weight of the world on your shoulders. And I was telling somebody not too long ago, and I thought their reaction was really funny. Um, but I was saying, yeah, I made an appointment with a counselor, just to talk with a therapist, and they were like, "You you went to a therapist? You what's going on?" And I was like, "Okay, it doesn't necessarily have to be anything going on. Sometimes things just get overwhelming
Yes.
and you need to talk to somebody to really, get all your feelings out, vent, um, figure out if there's something more going on, whatever. If you're really feeling the stress of life and things that are going on with you. And of course, we can do things like pray and talk to our friends and maybe take a vacation. I need one of those too.
Yes.
But definitely pay attention, like you said, to what is going on with you. So that is amazing advice. So yes, for our listening audience, I hope you definitely, you know, want to do that. Want to do that. Um, Make sure you're taking care of yourself. And actually, as somebody was just posting about numbers, so I do like to post the suicide hotline and other numbers. So that's going to be posted right in the chat of this uh, live in the post and in YouTube, so people can call that.
Absolutely.
So thank you for putting that up. But yeah. So thank you so much. And for you guys who didn't hear about Joyce's book, which I was just looking at it, as a matter of fact, it's available on Amazon. So definitely, if you'd like to get the book, there you go.
Or they can
Call,
get it from me directly as well.
and that's even better. I'm just putting that out there.
Yes, it is.
That's even better. Yeah. So it's called Depression to Deliverance, a healing journey through a troubled mind. So you guys definitely check that out. And thank you so much, Joyce, for being on the show today, for just gracing us with your presence and definitely with your story. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
I appreciate you.
Yes. So another great show. Thank you to all of our listeners who joined us today. I see you have fans in the audience, so that's always amazing. So thank you so much to my guest today, Joyce Mason. If you do want to reach out to her, Joyce, how can they reach out to you?
I can be reached on Facebook under Joyce Mason, um, either that or Jam Coaching at 2021, Jam Coaching 2021 at Gmail.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So you guys have that contact information. If you missed it, just replay it back. And we just are so appreciative of our guest today. Thank you so much, Joyce.
Thank you.
Well, guys, it has been another great episode with my guest, Joyce Mason. It has been really good. Some great information was shared. So, share this episode. I always like to tell people definitely share the episode when it's about a topic like this, because it just may make a difference in somebody's life. And so, we really do appreciate Joyce for joining us today. So until next time, guys, don't forget the show is every second and fourth Friday. And make sure you come back and see some of the other guests that'll be on as we go through this year. And I really appreciate you guys being a part of the show today. Thank you so much. And until next time, you guys stay boss. Thank you.